Greetings, I'm Amy, and my life took an unexpected turn when my husband Mark left me to care for his ailing parents and went on a 4-year vacation. Little did I know, he'd return only to claim his inheritance. Fate had something else in store, though. I had a plan, and what followed was a satisfying and intriguing revenge. Mark and I were once deeply in love, or so I believed. Our story began on a dating app after my ex-husband passed away from cancer. 6 years of grieving later, my friends convinced me to start dating again. Mark and I texted for a long time before deciding to meet up for a date. Days turned into years, and Mark proposed. We dreamed of a blissful life together, raising our daughter Nancy, owning a house, and vacationing in other countries. However, 7 years into our marriage, Mark's parents, Sophia and George, fell seriously ill, requiring constant attention and medical care. Mark asked me a big favor, involving taking care of his parents together. He explained that he couldn't abandon them, as they needed a lot of care due to their health issues. I felt torn, but Mark emphasized that he couldn't leave them alone. I get it, dear. That's why we decided to place them in a retirement home where they'll receive good care. If you're worried about the cost, don't fret. We'll contribute as much as we can. No, Amy, it's not about that. I'm thinking of something else. What are you trying to say, Mark? Just be straightforward. I was actually wondering if it's possible for my parents to move in, and we could take care of them. Oh, Mark, I'm not sure. I'm already busy with work and raising Nancy. I really want to, but no, sweetheart, you won't be handling everything on your own. They're my parents, so I'll be doing just as much, if not more, of the work, I promise. Oh, goodness. Sure thing. I adore Sophia and George, and I believe Nancy would enjoy staying with her grandparents. Many thanks, Amy. I assure you, I won't disappoint. You'd better not. Having looked after my ex-husband for a considerable time, I have some caregiving experience. Sophia faced a challenging autoimmune illness, confining her to bed and depending on specific treatments. Meanwhile, George fought against a persistent heart condition, needing continuous supervision and adjustments to his medication. Their delicate health took the forefront in our lives, demanding constant care due to their worsening conditions. Initially, Mark appeared devoted to the cause, and we collaborated tirelessly, balancing work, parenting, and caring for his parents. It was challenging, filled with numerous sleepless nights, hospital visits, and emotional stress that became our new reality. Yet we persevered, fueled by our love for Sophia and George, and the determination to give them the care they deserved. For a time, our mutual support provided strength. However, as the months passed, a concerning change unfolded. Mark's once steadfast dedication to his parents began to diminish. It began with missed doctor's appointments, claims of being too busy, and a growing lack of interest in their well-being. I could feel the pressure Sophia and George were facing, and my heart went out to them as Mark began to withdraw from his responsibilities. He increasingly stayed away, claiming business trips and other commitments as excuses to conveniently avoid being around. The burden of juggling work, parenting, and the growing demands of his parents rested heavily on me. In the middle of all the confusion, I noticed how much it affected Sophia and George. Their expressions showed sadness as it seemed like the bright days they had worked hard for were fading. Their health got worse, and the demand for support increased. Despite all this, Mark seemed more interested in his own goals, ignoring the pain that surrounded him. After taking care of his parents for 4 years, Mark told us about his upcoming 5-week business trip. This led to a heated argument between Mark, Nancy, and me. I expressed my concern, saying, "How can you leave us like this? Your parents depend on us, and you're just walking away without a care in the world." Mark defended himself, saying, "Here we go again, making me out to be the bad guy. I have important work to do. It's not like I'm abandoning them forever." Nancy chimed in, saying, "Dad, you can't keep leaving us like this. Grandma and Grandpa need us, and you're never around. It's not fair." Mark argued, "I understand they need us, but I have responsibilities too. I can't drop everything just because they're sick." Nancy raised concerns, saying, "You've been away for months, and it's causing a lot of pain for Mom and Dad. It seems like you're not concerned anymore." Mark responded, "Don't say I don't care. I'm doing my best to manage everything. Balancing my career and family is challenging." Nancy disagreed. "It's not just about managing, Dad. We need you, and so do our parents. But it feels like you prioritize yourself over us, and that's not fair." Mark defended himself. "I'm doing all of this to build a better life for all of us. Can't you understand that?" Nancy countered, "A better life? Leaving our parents when they need us the most doesn't sound like an improvement. You're abandoning them, Mark. Our family is going through a tough time, and it's really hurting us. If everyone played a part in taking care of our grandparents, it wouldn't always fall on me. I'm not perfect, and I know you see me as the bad guy, but Dad, it's not fair. Mom is doing her best to look after Grandma and Grandpa by herself. Nancy is right. I've made sacrifices for your parents, and I thought you'd support me. I've reached a point where I can't keep putting their needs ahead of my own. It's time for you to handle things independently, Dad. Mark, are you really saying you're finished with your own folks? I never expected to hear that from you. Maybe it's time to face reality, Amy. This isn't the life I expected. I need some time to sort things out. Mark angrily left the room and began packing without uttering another word. He departed for his business trip. Reflecting on it now, Nancy and I always felt responsible, thinking we were the cause of Mark leaving that evening. We spent many nights upset about it, attempting to connect with him, but with no success. The initial 5 weeks stretched into 2 long months. Sophia and George were deeply affected by their son's departure, and their health declined. As time went on, things got tougher for me. I found myself handling the heavy responsibility of caregiving all by myself. Days turned into a haze of hospital trips, managing medications, and countless chores. A whole year passed before I made a conscious choice to shift my focus. Rather than dwelling on the loss of another husband, I directed my efforts toward caring for my in-laws and raising my daughter. Juggling everything on my own became more challenging, and many nights went by without sleep or rest. Despite the heavy burden on my shoulders, I refused to let bitterness take over. My love for Sophia and George and my commitment to ensuring their comfort kept me moving forward. In Mark's absence, I found solace in being the pillar of strength for Sophia, George, and Nancy. Days turned into nights, and nights into months as I became adept at administering medications, handling medical equipment, and organizing a meticulous care routine. Sophia and George came to rely on me not only as a daughter-in-law, but as their primary caregiver. Despite the exhausting journey, our bond grew stronger as they recognized my unwavering commitment. Through it all, Nancy stood by my side, offering a listening ear and a loving presence. Despite her youth, her empathy and maturity shone through, making her a pillar of support during the darkest times. As the three of us faced the challenges together, we created a haven of love and support amidst the chaos. After 3 years of relentless dedication and sacrifice, Mark reappeared in our lives, driven by greed. He set his eyes on the inheritance left by his parents, but I held the key to his downfall. During Mark's absence, Sophia and George had entrusted me with their financial and legal affairs, ensuring the protection of their inheritance. They asked that the estate meant for Mark be transferred to Nancy and me. Touched by their trust and undying support, I fulfilled their wishes and more. Feeling appreciated for the hours spent caring for them, I decided to contact the private investigator I had hired to keep an eye on Mark. Naive as it may sound, I didn't want to leave Mark with nothing. I understood the pressure of caring for his aged parents could have taken a toll on him. While I wouldn't negotiate a significant inheritance for him, I felt an obligation to ensure he received a fair share. Unfortunately, my hopeful outlook took a nosedive when I found out about my spouse's actions while he was absent. To give you some context that led me to hire a private investigator, I had been feeling uneasy about Mark's behavior well before he vanished from our lives. There was something off about how he neglected his parents and kept coming up with excuses. Trusting my gut feeling, I decided to look into it. I pored over financial records and legal documents, and that's when I stumbled upon several transactions to an unknown account. When I brought up the issue with Mark, it led to a big argument between us. I said, "Mark, we should discuss something. I've been checking the money stuff and I saw some payments to a strange account. Can you tell me what's happening?" Mark replied, "That's not your business. Why are you poking around in things that don't involve you?" I insisted. "These transactions impact your parents and how they're doing. I should know what's happening. Are you keeping something from me?" I already explained. There's really nothing going on. Please, stop questioning me and digging into my private matters. Can't you just believe me this once? Believe you, Mark. Your parents depend on both of us, and if there's something potentially harmful happening that involves you, I have the right to know. This affects our whole family. You're making a big deal out of this, Amy. It's just a misunderstanding, and you always assume the worst. I can't handle this anymore. Don't you get it, Mark? Your sudden lack of interest in your parents, those strange transactions, something doesn't add up. We're a team, and we need to tackle this together. What's the issue, Amy? There's really nothing wrong. I'm tired of you accusing me all the time. If you can't trust me, maybe I should just go. Leave? Seriously, Mark? You're ready to abandon your family because you won't answer a simple question. Is that who you've become? You're pushing me too far, Amy. I can't deal with your constant suspicion and lack of faith in me. If you can't accept that, maybe we're better off apart. Faced with Mark's dishonesty and his neglect of his parents' well-being, I decided to hire a private investigator, and the findings were revealing. On a usual Monday, nothing out of the ordinary occurred. Yet a sense of remorse weighed on me, stemming from the guilt of my choices. Juggling the demands of looking after my in-laws and raising my daughter compelled me to part ways with the private investigator I had initially hired. However, when Mark vanished without any explanation, I decided to bring back the investigator to discreetly collect information for future use. I nearly overlooked it until George mentioned paperwork during the birth. With fresh information in hand, I silently pledged that if Mark reappeared, I'd give him a hard time. When Mark returned to our lives, I was prepared to keep that commitment. He strolled into our house, disregarding his parents and daughter, making a beeline for me. "Hey, Amy, let's have a serious talk. I'm back, and I want my fair part of our parents' inheritance." "Seriously, Mark? After all this time, that's your first priority? No mention of your absence or concern for our parents, just the inheritance?" "I'm not into sentimental stuff. I left to do my own thing, and now I'm back to get what's rightfully mine. You should be thankful I even bothered to return." "Thankful? Thankful for abandoning our parents when they needed you most? For leaving me to handle everything alone? That takes some nerve. You act as if taking care of them was a hassle. You always liked playing the hero, Amy. But let's not forget who really worked hard for this inheritance. Worked hard? Is that how you see it? Leaving your parents to struggle while you enjoyed your own break? They needed you, Mark. They needed their son, and you turned away. They had you, right? Everything seemed in order. Plus, they're not solely my responsibility. I have my own life to lead. Your life? What about our life, Mark? What about the promises we made and the vows we took? This is our family, our parents, and you've let us down in the worst way possible. Let us down? Spare me the drama. I'm just standing up for my rights. I'm set on getting what's rightfully mine, and nothing will stop me. Mark, your arrogant and indifferent behavior has affected your family, but I won't let you exploit your parents. They deserve more. Good luck, Amy. You might be surprised if you try to interfere. Just know, I always claim what's rightfully mine. Instead of confronting Mark, I took a different approach. I gave him his parents' wills, expecting his smile to disappear soon. Unexpectedly, Mark's face changed completely when he found out his name was left out of the wills. He got really angry and bitter, and because he was too proud, he promised to get back at me. He claimed that I had wrongly influenced his vulnerable parents. What Mark didn't realize was that I had a secret plan. I calmly told him to leave our house. Mark left angrily, and as expected, he later sued me. His untrue claims were an effort to ruin my reputation and make himself look like the innocent one in a messed-up story. In the courtroom, Mark said mean things that weren't true about me. He tried really hard to make the judge and jury feel sorry for him. But luckily, the truth came out. I had proof like people who saw what happened. Medical papers and money documents that showed I always took care of his parents and made sure they were okay. As the trial went on, Mark's lies fell apart, and everyone could see that what he was saying wasn't true. His made-up stories didn't hold up, and he was left with nothing to back them up. However, my joy didn't end with winning the case. I wanted Mark to face the consequences when I finally revealed the truth. With a calm but strong voice, I decided to share what my investigator had discovered. I described the events that happened during Mark's 4-year absence, highlighting the many hours I spent taking care of his sick parents, the nights I stayed awake by their side, and the sacrifices I made for their health. I painted a clear picture of Mark's neglect and mistreatment during his parents' most difficult times. Finally, I exposed the surprising reason behind his departure. It wasn't just a vacation or work. There was more to it. Mark left us for someone else, breaking our family and causing immense pain with his selfish actions. His lawyer tried to deny my accusations, but my lawyer provided the court with a thorough collection of proof, such as text messages, emails, photos, and credit card records. Mark was stunned, unable to grasp how his secrets were exposed for everyone to witness. Just when he thought it couldn't get worse, my lawyer revealed a surprise witness: Mark's affair partner. Mark's face turned pale and his lawyer disapproved, shaking his head. It was clear that Mark hadn't shared the whole truth with his legal team. When I found out about Mark's secret relationship, I did some digging. It turned out to be his ex, the person he dated just before me. I reached out to her, and we decided she wouldn't change her behavior towards Mark until the trial to avoid suspicion. She agreed to speak on my behalf. On the witness stand, Mark's ex revealed how he had been texting her 4 years ago, expressing his desire for her and claiming his life was miserable without her. They got back in touch and started going out. After 2 years, he revealed that his work meant he had to move to her town. She generously suggested he stay at her place. Oddly, he never mentioned being married or leaving his extraterrestrial parents behind. Just 2 months ago, he popped the question, mentioning a big inheritance from his folks, but said he had to go back to his hometown to get it. In a heated moment, Martha looked directly at Mark, threw her engagement ring at him, and told him to never reach out again. The room was left in shock by this unexpected revelation. Sophia and George, already dealing with health challenges, felt a mix of sadness and letdown. Mark, who had been raised with higher hopes, turned out to be someone who cared more about his own gain than family bonds. Tears filled their eyes as they realized their son had deserted them. Nancy, discovering that her father had left their family for another woman, struggled to contain her anger but remained composed. Mark attempted to justify himself, but no one paid attention to his excuses. Overwhelming evidence revealed his betrayal. He had squandered the love and trust of his own family. The judge, after considering the facts, sided with Sophia and George, recognizing their years of devoted care. Mark's supposed inheritance, which he believed was rightfully his, was proven to be a mistake. I experienced a satisfying win, defending my family's legacy and revealing Mark as a fake. This battle was about doing what was right for those I cared about. Confronted with the consequences, Mark had to admit to his greed and lies. The triumph had mixed feelings, realizing that our lives would be forever influenced by this challenging period. Telling this story serves as a reminder that even in tough times, fairness can triumph over heartbreak and betrayal. Seeking justice, fueled by love and unwavering support, can be a remedy best served with patience.